Namaskar. Yes.
So we are live and recording is started. So can we start the webinar? 1 minute is left only.
Hmm.
Namaskar, Mr. Chaudhary, CRC, Mohanty ji.
Yes, Professor Ghosh,
Yeah, I saw that you are
I
trying
owe a
your
lot of
WhatsApp.
responses. My apology, I couldn't respond back to you.
Thank you. We are starting the webinar because it.
Good
So we are
afternoon,
live.
everyone.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
So we can start.
Okay. Thank you. Esteemed participants, welcome to this very special webinar to celebrate World Environment Day. 3R Waste Foundation, in partnership with the All India Institute of Local Self-Government, Urban Update and Action Alliance for Recycling Beverage Cartons, has planned this webinar on recycling beverage cartons and plastic packaging in circular economy. The key objective of this webinar is to discuss about the recyclability of beverage cartons and plastic packaging, recycling practices and ecosystem solutions, updates and challenges. The presenters will discuss as to how recycling of beverage cartons plays a key role in circular economy and how FSC certified sourcing reduces footprint and how all these actions contribute to Sustainable Development Goal 12. Dear friends, yesterday, Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, on the occasion of World Environment Day, launched a global initiative called Lifestyle for the Environment, Life Movement. This global initiative was proposed by him at COP26 in Glasgow last year. The vision of this new initiative called Life is to live a lifestyle that is in tune with our planet and does not harm it. He urged the gathering to follow the principle of 3R: reduce, reuse, and recycle. He said that reduce, reuse, and recycle are the concepts woven into our life. The circular economy has been an integral part of our culture and lifestyle. Our planet is one, he said. Our planet is one, but our efforts have to be many. One earth, many efforts. India stands ready to support any effort for a better environment and to further global wellness. Friends, in the same spirit shared by the Prime Minister, our webinar today is to discuss ways and means such that we promote circular economy in all sectors. This webinar focuses on beverage cartons and plastic packaging. Beverage cartons are predominantly paper-based with thin layers of polyethylene and one thin layer of aluminium, which act as barriers against elements like air, moisture, sunlight. This keeps the food inside the pack safe and prevents spoilage without the need of refrigeration. Used beverage cartons are recyclable and are increasingly being recycled by recyclers across different parts of India. UBCs, when recovered in a clean and dry state, are highly valued by recyclers like paper mills due to the high quality of fiber, which can be recycled easily into useful new items. However, there are several challenges in the collection, transportation, and recycling of used beverage cartons. We shall dwell on some of these challenges and explore possible solutions in today's webinar. The use of plastics in different sectors of economy, particularly packaging, construction, healthcare, etc., has also been growing very fast. While the usage and benefits of plastics are manifold, it invariably gets branded as a polluting material. The facts or myth regarding the polluting characteristics of plastic needs to be addressed in a scientific manner. If plastics can be collected and disposed of or recycled as per laid down guidelines or rules, then the issue of plastic waste can be suitably addressed. In fact, there is wide scope for industries based on recycling of plastic waste. Of the total plastic produced every year, nearly 50% is used as a single-use plastic. 98% of single-use plastic, unfortunately, is not recycled, but ends up in landfill sites, thus posing serious challenges. Dear friends, this webinar is organized as a pre-event of the UNCRD Regional 3R and Circular Economy Forum, which shall be organized in later part of 2022. We are indeed very happy that Mr. CRC Mohanty, Environment Program Coordinator of UNCRD, has very kindly agreed to deliver the keynote address at the opening of the webinar. This will be followed by brief presentations by a very distinguished panel of experts, which shall be followed by a panel discussion in the form of questions and answers. Among the 5 panelists, we have Professor Sadhan K. Ghosh, who's the president of the AIILSG MAW. He is the Chief Coordinator, Center for Sustainable Development and Resource Efficiency Management, Jadavpur University. Mr. Gyan Prakash Mishra is the Senior Advisor, Mosaic India. Mrs. Parmata Datta De, Head Waste Management, National Institute of Urban Affairs. Mr. Sanjeev Kumar is the Advisor, Re-Sustainability. And Mr. S.N. Umakat, Chief Manager, WOW Program, ITC Limited. Towards the close of these presentations, Dr. Praveen Agarwal, Head ARC, will sum up the takeaways of the webinar. And then let me first now, introduce Mr. Chaudhary Rudrachand Mohanty, Environment Program Coordinator, UNCRD. Mr. Chaudhary is currently working as the Environment Program Coordinator at UNCRD, Japan. Actually, his main responsibilities at UNCRD includes implementation of several flagship initiatives and processes at regional and global level. Among them, there are promotion of environment sustainable transport in Asia, promotion of 3R, resource efficiency and circular economy in Asia and the Pacific, and international partnership on expanding waste management service of local authorities, what we call IPLA, and SDG partnership. Under these initiatives, Shri Mohanty played significant role in establishing 2 very high-level policy forums in Asia and the Pacific, and an international partnership on expanding waste management service of local authorities. Prior to his UNCRD UNDESA assignment, he worked in the United Nations Environment Program, Regional Resource Center for Asia and the Pacific in Thailand from 1993 to 2003 as a senior program officer. He obtained his bachelor's degree with honors in agricultural engineering and technology from the Odisha University of Agriculture and Technology, and he holds a master's of engineering degree from the School of Civil Engineering, Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand. I'd like to invite Professor Mr. Mohanty for delivering the keynote address. We are really grateful to you, sir. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Singh. Distinguished delegates, experts, participants, warm greetings from Nagoya, Japan. First of all, on behalf of UNCRD, UNDESA, UN Department for Economic and Social Affairs, I would like to express our deep appreciation to the 3R Waste Foundation and all the co-organizers of this event in support of the World Environment Day 2022. In fact, as as Dr. Singh mentioned, this is officially a pre-event of the Intergovernmental High-Level Regional 3R and Circular Economy Forum led by UNCRD. All of us know that this year's campaign is Only One Earth, which calls for collective, transformative action on a global scale to celebrate, protect, and restore our planet. As our UN Secretary General says, the Earth faces a triple planetary emergency. The first one, the climate is heating up too quickly, and it is a big challenge for people and nature to adapt. Our lifestyles are associated with 2/3 of the greenhouse gas emissions, and studies show that sustainable lifestyles and behaviors could reduce the emissions by 40% by 2050. The second is the habitat loss and other pressures, which means an estimated 1 million species are threatened with extinction, and we are using the equivalent of 1.6 Earths to maintain our current way of life, and the ecosystem cannot keep up with the rising demands. Pollution, the third one, the pollution continues to poison our land, water, air, and also the ocean. So the way out of this dilemma is to transform our economies and societies to make them inclusive, fair, and more connected with the nature and the ecosystem. And we must shift from harming the planet to healing it. And the good news is that solutions and technologies exist and are increasingly becoming affordable. Today's focus is recycling beverage cartons and plastic packaging in circular economy. On beverage cartons, effective collection and sortings are extremely important. In fact, they are the precondition for recycling. By collecting all packaging materials separately, the volume of materials available for recycling is significantly increased, providing a more predictable and higher quality of waste stream and contributing to the achievement of the national recycling targets. For instance, in 2019, the recycling rate for beverage cartons in Europe, for example, reached 51% and is expected to increase further. And if you see in Asia Pacific, I think the state is very mixed, and some countries are having very high recycling rate, and some countries are even having 5 to 6%, even 3% of the recycling rate of the packaging cartons. So when combined with sustainable renewable sourcing, recycling reduces the overall footprint of the products. Therefore, the beverage cartons offer circularity both in terms of sourcing and also the end of life. Beverage cartons are very efficient, requires only low amounts of packaging materials as compared to the plastic bottles, PET bottles, and the glass bottles. For instance, for liter of beverage carton requires 28 to 38 grams, that is the mass of primary packaging material. PET bottles require 25 to 56 grams of packaging materials. Glass bottles require around 300 to 600 grams of packaging material. You see, there is a huge difference. Similarly, the great packaging efficiency of beverage cartons also takes trucks, the transportation system off the road, since more can be transported in one go. For instance, 19,700 liters of milk can be transported per truck using beverage cartons, whereas 14,300 liters of milk per truck using the glass bottles. So the beverage carton also have a lower carbon footprint in comparison to the single-use packaging for the same functionality. For instance, 47% less compared to the PET bottles and 80% less compared to the single-use glass bottles. So even when made a significant amount of recycled content, plastic bottles will have a higher share of plastics from fossil fuel sources than that of the beverage cartons, which use only 7 to 9 grams of plastics consumption per carton. So at the same time, even though the beverage cartons have a lot of advantage, but we need to look into some of the aspects, like the beverage cartons are made only from renewable or recyclable materials. They should be fully recyclable or recycled, and they should be entirely made from sustainably sourced primary raw materials. What I mean to say here is the fibers from sustainably managed the forests as certified by internationally recognized certification schemes. There are many certification schemes. So coming to the issue of plastics, and because of mismanaged plastics, the volume of plastics are growing everywhere in the ecosystem even, and each year globally an estimated 8 million tons of plastics waste end up in our oceans, and at least 51 trillion microplastics are already in our oceans, critically affecting our food security. Microplastics less than 5 mm are a serious concern in coastal and marine environment, including the bioaccumulation of hydrophobic persistent organic pollutants like POPs. There are various POPs and others from the plastics through the ingestion or the food chain, like fish to fish or the fish to people. Most of these plastics in the ocean are from the urban areas linked into the natural drainage and the river systems. Roughly 90% of all plastic wastes in ocean come from only 10 rivers. And you will be surprised to know that out of 10 rivers, 8 are in Asia Pacific and 2 are from Africa. So the only solutions to plastic issue is not only the mass scale banning of single-use plastics, but also circular economic utilization of the plastics. For example, plastics are now increasingly utilized in the road construction materials, for example, in India, building construction materials, for example, in Norway, and railway line crossbars, for example, in Australia, that I had personally seen in Adelaide city of South Australia, just to mention a few. So what can 3R and circular economy can offer to us? The circular economy concept, which offers us an environmentally friendly alternative growth model, and it is all about making better use of natural resources like forest, soil, water, air, our mineral resources, metals, etc. And circular economy is a closed loop economy in which nearly all wastes or outputs are either become inputs to the other manufacturing process or are returned to the natural systems as benign emissions rather than as pollutants. And circular economy also implies we must decouple waste from ecosystem through circular economic utilization of the entire waste stream, so that nothing is spilled into our ecosystem, whether it is river, lakes, water bodies, forest, ocean, and other vital ecosystem. It is an economy in which resource efficiency is placed at the center of every economic decision making. It is an economy where wastes are completely eliminated by treating them as valuable resources or even secondary input raw materials. Consumption of raw material, natural resources, water, energy are minimized for unit product or services, and efficiency is also improved. So, but how can we promote circular economy in Asia Pacific or in developing countries? Circular economy or moving towards a zero waste society almost means the same, but they are it is inherently a multi-stakeholder partnership. We need active cooperation and coordination among the governments, business, civil society, financial institutions, research organizations. Actually, all of them is a very significant role to play in advancing circular economy. In order to advance circular economy in Asia Pacific, we will require 2 types of coordination and cooperation. The first one is inter-agency cooperation. If you look at our Indian government system, also the governance system, the primary responsibility of CR or circular economy lies with the environmental agencies, but the responsibility and commitment of other government agencies is not always at its full potential, whereas we need the cooperation of other line ministries. Countries should establish novel institutional arrangements to fully harness the multifaceted benefits in resource and waste management, climate and water by creating institutional arrangements by fostering active collaboration and coordination among a number of line ministries, Ministry of Industry, Ministry of Urban Development, Ministry of Transport, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Forestry, Ministry of Construction, and Ministry of Trade and Commerce, and Ministry of Science and Technology. So horizontal cooperation is extremely important. Second one, we need a specific cooperation, that is triangular cooperation between the government, scientific and research organization, and the private and corporate sector. So the government supports R&D, and the R&D supports the private sector, and the private sector supports government through the tax revenues generated through the recycling industries, and the cycle goes on. This is how the triangular system that work on. But at the same time, 3R as an economic industry will require tremendous technological interventions. So we are in the era of fourth industrial revolution, that is Industry 4.0, which is a new digital industrial technology or digitalization of the manufacturing, IoT in manufacturing to optimize our resource allocation, the resource use for unique product and the resources. So therefore, it is important to address also the intervention of various technologies, IoT, 3D printing, robotics, cloud computing, blockchain technologies, nanotechnology, green chemistry, etc., in advancing 3R and circular economy. But it is also important to note that there is also tremendous inequalities among the countries in assessing the frontier technologies. So some studies suggest also the circular economy could generate $4.5 trillion for additional economy output by 2030. If we look into the footprints of any smart city, clean city, or eco-city in the world, we will see a systematic collaboration between the city and the business sector in advancing circular economy. City supports business and business supports cities in a symbiotic city. For example, if you take the example of eco-city like Kawasaki city in Japan, which demonstrates strong collaborative culture between R&D institutions, private companies on environmental technologies with active support of the local government. So the private and the local companies, they take their own initiative on environmentally sound business operations and contribute to preventing local and global environmental problems. So currently, we should, in the context of cities, we should not forget that more than half of the global population currently live in the urban areas, and by 2050, it would be 66%. So cities consumes approximately 70% of the all natural resources, 70% of the world's energy, while generating about 75% of the CO2 emissions, and therefore making cities smart, resilient, livable, inclusive, and sustainable, as called upon by SDG 11, is indispensable. So some countries have made good progress in advancing institutions and governance mechanism for the implementation of 3R policies, programs, including a development of dedicated 3R and circular economy infrastructure, such as science park, theme parks, resource recovery facilities, eco-industrial zones, etc. But still, a conventional style of economies of governance still prevails in most part of the Asia Pacific. So in summary, moving towards circular economy also means enhancing resilience of cities and communities, because the state of our natural resources and the ecological assets determine the degree of our resilience to issues like the climate change, increasing frequency and magnitude of the natural disasters, and also the health emergencies like the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, how we manage our natural resources and ecological assets will be defining the level of our resilience, social resilience, economic resilience, and also the ecological resilience. All these resilience are actually interrelated. The resilience in one dimension actually trigger the resilience in other dimension. So let me finally conclude that all the UN member countries are currently implementing a number of interlinked and mutually reinforcing global agreements, international agendas such as the 2030 agenda, the SDGs, the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, the Habitat 3 New Urban Agenda, the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, which is looking for the new type of financing to build resilient infrastructure, the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, and the Nairobi Mandate, among others. The success of all these agendas and agreements will largely depend on how effectively we integrate circular economic principles in major development sectors. Industries, SMEs, construction, transport, energy, forest, agriculture, water, tourism, trade, and commerce. So circular economy is an overarching principle in achieving synergies in national and international efforts to achieve these international agendas and agreements. So circularity should not be just discussed within the waste domain. Rather, it must be linked to the resource domain, resource security, food security, our mineral and energy security. This is how we need to address. And even though this conference today is confined to the beverage cartons and the plastics recyclability, but we need to take into account a holistic approach in addressing the 3R and circular economy in a cross-cutting range of sectors, institutions, and the policies. Thank you, Dr. Singh.
Thank you very much, Mohanty-ji, for very elaborate and very intensive, a very thought-provoking address. In fact, India also has adopted the policy of circular economy. Niti Aayog of India has identified 11 industrial sectors in which, as a matter of fact, there is a kind of direct intervention through the policy and support mechanism for promoting circular economy. Similarly, several chambers of commerce, whether it is FICCI or it is CII, they are also trying to encourage and promote circular economy per se. And we are very happy that the Honorable Prime Minister has also emphasized it in his yesterday's address, what he said in COP26 in Glasgow. So thank you so much indeed. I will now like to invite Professor Sadhan K. Ghosh. Professor Ghosh, as a matter of fact, is a professor in mechanical engineering since 1998, but he is also the chief coordinator, Center for Sustainable Development and Resource Efficiency Management in Jadavpur University. He is an internationally well-known expert in the fields of waste management, circular economy, green manufacturing, etc. He has led 15 international and 20 national research projects. He has written nearly 10 books, edited 30 books, and published more than 230 papers. He is a founder and president of International Society of Waste Management, Air and Water. He has collaborative research with more than 35 countries and has served 30 SMEs and big industries as consultant and trainer. I'd like to invite Professor Ghosh for his address. He is going to address mainly on the circular economy as applied to the packaging industry. Professor Ghosh, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Kulwant Singh, and greetings to all from Jadavpur University and International Society of Waste Management, Air and Water, and IPLA Global Forum. It's my privilege to speak on this platform, and I must thank Dr. Singh for inviting me to be here and share my thoughts and privilege and also learn from this platform. So as Mr. C.R.C. Mohanty was explaining, various intergovernmental policies and also policies in different countries for implementation of circular economy. The circular economy is the way forward for not only the packaging plastics, but also most of the waste which we can see and which we are producing every day at every phase of our activities. So when we talk about this packaging plastics, the first thing which came into everybody's mind today, the single-use plastic, when in 2018, on the same World Environment Day, when India was the host country, has taken an action that by 2022, India will take an action to stop or ban the single-use plastics. And it has taken an action that by this year, we have started stopping the single-use plastics. But the problem is not the plastic. For any packaging plastic, the problem is the citizen who are using these plastics and who are misusing and who are throwing these plastics at different places. Like the photograph shows how the waste, mainly the plastic waste, are polluting the environment, specifically the marine environment. And plastic pollution, specifically the packaging plastic pollution, is a major environmental challenge when it comes in the ocean. And we talk about technology, but technology is not at all an issue. Very recently, a report says that without considerable action for reducing or controlling the plastic use and the littering of the packaging plastics, 50 kg of plastic per meter of shoreline will enter into the ocean. So Dr. Singh was referring to, and also Mr. C.R.C. Mohanty was referring to that the fish, they are swallowing different types of packaging plastics. And in the life cycle of food or the food cycle, ultimately, this is creating problem to the society. This is creating problem to the human. And see the increase in number of the people affected by the cancer and other related disease. One of the main causes of all these are the ocean plastic pollution. And the technology which we have at this stage, or the way it is developing, the report says also that 80% less annual plastic leakage will be happening to the ocean related to the business as usual, which will be achievable by 2040. So it is not the technology, how we can utilize plastics, but it is the willpower of the people, the policy of the government, the policy of the national government, as well as the bilateral or multilateral cooperation among the countries, how these policies and technologies can be utilized for combating with the plastic problems. So this is very known facts. That's why I'm not going into the detail of that. The benefit of circular economy and packaging, it reduces the most important part of waste management today, including the plastic waste management, is we have to reduce the extraction rate of natural resources. If we see from 1970 to 2017, we have seen that nearly 3 times the natural resources extraction has taken place. But if it takes place in the same rate, increasing rate, then by 2050, this will be 2 to 3 times, which is nearly on the other way of the sustainability. So that has to be restricted first. And all the waste management, all the recirculation, all the circular economy are pointing towards reduction of the extraction of natural resources. And circular economy will help in reducing plastic pollution. It will generate new economy. It will generate number of employments. And of course, it will incent the innovation of the new technology, reduce the GHG emission, and so on and so forth. But what is the life cycle? We produce plastics from oil and gas production unit, and then different monomer production, polymerization, and all these things. And ultimately, this beads comes to the product manufacturing and different types of packaging plastics. So then it goes to the retailer, consumer, and then it becomes a waste. So when it becomes waste, as long as it is a factory waste and it is taken care of within the factory, it doesn't matter. But whenever it becomes a post-consumer packaging plastic, the problem starts. So post-consumer packaging plastic, the first responsibility goes to the user and the citizen to control the littering of these plastics. And the littering of these plastics starts giving the problem to the society, littering to the landfill, littering to roadways, littering to water bodies, and blah, blah. But there are a number of solutions which we are now taken into practice. And I'll go to some of the technology on which the circular economy best. And I'm not going to the detail of this. This is just a consumption pattern. So plastic is everywhere, and everywhere the packaging plastic is also creating problem because of our habit, because of our culture. So this is the circular economy basics. Mainly, we're working on EPCD2, that extract, produce, consume, dispose, and deplete. So by this depletion, we are reducing, we are extracting more material for the new product, and we are wasting the material, we are creating pollution. But the circular economy, it's an elevated echelon of achieving zero waste. It helps in resource conservation. It will generate new design of product and processes. It will identify the materials whose life cycle is more, conserve all the resources, including the energy and the material, and ultimately, the disposable material at end of the life cycle of a particular product utilization, it acts as a secondary raw material for a second process. So whenever this is acting as a secondary raw material in the second process, it creates a value in the value chain. It is creating product, it is creating economy, and it is giving a lot of scopes for the employment generation, as well as it helps in environmental sustainability. So this is why most of the countries, there are some debate occurs, but most of the countries are going for these circular economy initiatives. So this is the way by which the plastic has its own path. It either goes to landfill or dump site or littered in different places, including the ocean, river, water bodies, roadside, but there are something going to the incineration and the recycling. So these are some of the processes which are now available, like the mechanical recycling is the extrusion process. RDF is the refuse-derived fuel, alternative fuel and raw material. In fact, by these, what we are doing is any packaging material, packaging plastics, if we take all the waste for the RDF and cement plant, alternative cement plant as alternative material, some of the material is converted into the energy and rest of the material which would have been ash in other process, but this is converted to the clinker as well as the cement. So 100% of the waste plastics is converted into the energy and the cement in cement plant, which we call co-processing. Then there are a lot of processes by which we can make sleeping mat, shoes, and many other material. Road construction, already Mr. CRC Mohanty has referred to. Textile, apparel, shoes, and fuel and char by pyrolysis, Tetra Pak to different pellets, and many other processes. So this is one process which converts the non-recyclable waste into energy. The plastic, sustainable chemicals, solvent coatings, fuels, and many other things, including methanol and syngas. So this is another machine. This is a extrusion machine, pyrolysis, plastic extrusion. In fact, this machine is developed by me in 2004, and it is patented. And many of the places it is now used. This is an eco-friendly waste plastic processing machine, which takes all the waste packaging plastics and it produces beads, and all the gases which are produced here, those are also converted into the waste. So this is the process. I don't have much time to elaborate, but this is the process by which the material, ultimately this type of product is made, and this type of product again used for making different types of end products, like these are all marketable products. Even the virgin granules and this waste plastic granules, these are having competitive price. So many of the places we can see that 20%, 30%, 10% of this waste plastic beads are used with the virgin plastic for reducing the cost of the product. So this is a, again, I'm telling that this is a usage in cement plant, the co-processing. There are a lot of, I mean, the government of India has taken an action that all the cement plants will now use the plastic and also inert wastes, which has a little calorific value. And we are now still in a preparation of a business model. Of course, there are 60 odd cement plants which are now utilizing this waste for cement kilns utilization, and ultimately they are producing the cement. And it has a very good market. Then this plastic refuse derived fuel, RDF, the plastics are converted into this type of pellets, which are again used in boiler or in any other furnace. This is having the calorific value of 2,500 to 4,500, which is comparable to coal and other fuels. And nowadays, the cost of this waste due to this RDF production are increasing day by day. These are all very positive thinking of utilization of packaging plastics. This is again, as I referred, that the cement plant, and this is a sleeping mat. There is a good business in India as well as the Thailand for conversion of plastic into the sleeping mat, and also the different types of dresses, and textile product, which are even in world football or cricket. I can remember in 2017, all the players, all the players wear this converted textile product as a dress, which were produced from a part as a plastic packaging plastic material. And this is also a fuel, plasma pyrolysis technology. This is a very important and initiative. And in India, there are a number of initiatives which have taken. I have also one of the international project, which is funded by DST and also Hungarian government, where we are utilizing also the biomass as well as the plastic waste for generation of the different types of energy and liquid plus char in the pyrolysis process. So these are some of the very important technology for utilization of the packaging plastics, converting into usable product, promoting the circular economy. So circular economy, one way, is very important initiative and concept for utilization of packaging plastics, as well as reducing the problem of disposal of packaging plastics as a post-consumer material. With this, I must congratulate Dr. Kulwant Singh for taking a really right subject for this WED seminar and invitation. Thank you very much. Over to Dr. Singh.
Thank you very much, Professor Ghosh. We are really encouraged by your presentation, and in which you have shared so many different technologies which are being used in the country and also in other parts of the world. I'm very sure that we have to make an effective use of these technologies such that we are able to manage very particularly this beverage cartons, reused beverage cartons, cartons for recycling, and also for the plastic, because without recycling them, perhaps we will not be able to address the problem of waste in the country. Thank you so much, and we will certainly benefit from your presentation. I like to take,
Thank you.
continue with, with this, and like to invite my next speaker, Mr. Gyan Prakash Mishra ji. Gyan Prakash Mishra ji, as a matter of fact, has been contributing to public service, if I may say so. He calls it a public service through solid and liquid waste management since 2010, last 12 years. He was with the AIILSG Environmental Infrastructure Services Private Limited from 2010 to 2016, wherein he had hands-on experience of operation and execution of various solid waste management projects. To name a few, and I would like to name those projects very particularly because they are very relevant projects in our context. Construction and demolition debris recycling project at Buradi in North Delhi, and municipal solid waste collection and transportation project at Vadodara Municipal Corporation, to compost project at Okhla, and a waste to energy project at Ghazipur, Delhi. He led the 1300 tons per day MSW to 12 megawatt Ghazipur waste to energy project from drawing board to commissioning in end 2015. In May 2016, he joined Ernst & Young in water waste and sanitation vertical of government transaction advisory services. During his tenure, he provided knowledge leadership to the vertical in Haryana, where Ernst & Young were state-level transaction advisors for solid waste management projects. He was instrumental in conceptualizing, planning, structuring state-level solid waste management plan, and provided assistance in preparation of transaction documents, etc. Since April 2019, Shri Gyan Prakash Mishra ji is engaged with Mosaic Advanced Solutions LLP for advisory services in solid waste management and wastewater areas. I will like to invite him and let him share his presentation, because he is going to really share with you some very interesting experiences which he had, based on which I think he will like to share some of his thoughts. Right. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. I will request Rahul to please. Yeah, thank you. Right. As we think about this topic, recycling beverage cartons and plastic packaging in circular economy, the first thing which comes to our mind is the word circular economy. We generally understand what is circular economy, but I'm going to start my presentation with a slide on linear, just to differentiate between what is linear economy and what is circular economy. Next slide, please.
Sorry, sir, just 2 minutes. There's some
No
issue.
problem. No problem. Yeah. See, linear economy, it essentially means take, make, and dispose. You take the raw material, make a product, use it, and throw it away. You need more of such products, so you draw more raw material and you step up your manufacturing, or you again manufacture this product and again use it and dispose it off. Now what happens is that you continue to draw natural resources for making more and more products. If we continue to do this, the question is then what are we going to leave for our future generations? We have we have certain rights over the natural resources which the God has made available to us, but we need to be little responsible and little careful while using this. It is with this underlying spirit that we talk about the concept of circular economy, wherein you try to, first of all, you produce minimal amounts of waste that can be recycled back to production. And also the waste diversion that is towards productive uses, recycling, energy creation, etc. For example, like say in the previous presentation, there was an example of making plastic granules at the end of the life of some plastic product. You convert it into granules, and those granules can be used as raw material for making fresh products. So wherever we can apply this concept of circular economy, or wherever you can apply this concept of recycling and reusing the product in some form or the other, we conform to the concept of circular economy. Next slide, please. See, now when we talk of beverages packaging, what is beverage packaging? Beverage packaging is used for a wide range of products such as bottled water, beer, coffee, soft drinks, dairy products, energy drinks, juice, sports drinks, tea, wine, spirits, etc. The requirement of packaging for beverages depends on the required shelf life of the package of the beverage that you are going to contain in it. Then the marketing requirements. Marketing requirements are, everyone wants his product to be visible in the store, so that when the customer is coming to buy, the product is distinctly visible, and then the customer is prompted to buy that product. So this requirement I term as the marketing requirement. The customer needs and application and safety during the transportation, etc. Now these are few factors which you bear in your mind when you decide upon what kind of packaging material should you be using for a particular type of beverage. Now, when I'm talking of, say, marketing requirement, although it was not part of the topic, but keeping this thing in the mind, and the government observed that the producers of various items, they were being irresponsible and they were being greedy while designing packaging material for their product. To curb this tendency, the government came out with extended producer responsibility. So in some way, I feel the circular economy thing, the concept that we are discussing, and the extended producer responsibility, they are also interlinked. Extended producer responsibility, basically that concept talks about if you have developed a product, you have used certain packaging material for it. For example, Pepsi bottles or Coca-Cola bottles, you have used these PET bottles for selling your product. It will be the responsibility of the producer to ensure that whatever quantity of plastic he has used for marketing his product, same quantity in terms of scrap material, he has to responsibly dispose of in order to meet his extended producer responsibility obligation. In 2016 to 18, these obligations were brand agnostic and they were also location agnostic. But in 2019, it became a regional responsibility, but it continued to be brand agnostic. And in 2021, it has become state-wise responsibility, but it continues to be brand agnostic. That means if PepsiCo has sold 100 bottles, each bottle weighing, say, for example, 10 grams. So 10 into 100, that means 1000 grams plastic material in that particular state where these bottles have been sold will have to be responsibly dealt with or managed by the manufacturer of this particular product. So to some extent, this marketing requirement, when people were being greedy for selling their product, this EPR is put a little curb on that kind of tendency. But still, when we talk of what kind of material we can use for packaging of beverages, I mean, it definitely becomes one of the factors to be considered. Just to give you an idea, the global beverage packaging market was USD 123.39 billion in 2018, and it is projected to reach USD 177.04 billion in 2026. I have taken this number from a report of Fortune Business Insights. You can go through this report. fortunebusinessinsights.com is the website. Also from the same source, just to give you the idea that what are the different kind of global beverage packaging market share by material. This is the 2018 number. Approximately 30% is plastic, 32% is glass, 25% is metal, and 13% is others. Now this percent, when I am saying, is by weight. Next slide, please. Now the different types of, you have type 1 packaging material, type 2 packaging material, and type 3 packaging material. Now type 1 packaging material is what you can see in top left picture, the individual bottles in which one single piece of item is sold. Type 2 packaging material could be, what you see in the bottom left picture, wherein number of things, a set of, a certain number of units are kept. And type 3 packaging material is the material which is used for transportation. In large quantities, people use wood for transportation purposes because that can be used over and over again. Next slide, please. Now coming to the paper, cardboard, and carton packaging. The waste packaging is collected separately and sorted so that the products are homogeneous and fit for recycling. When I say this, I mean that after you collect, you keep, each types, stack them separately. It should not be a mixed bundle of different types of packaging material. The recycling consists in extracting the cellulose fiber packaging is made of to reuse them to make recycled paper or cardboard. Next to next bullet, if you read, the paper cardboard packaging industry uses cellulose fiber that is used successively and repeatedly. Now what happens is this cellulose fiber material is drawn from trees. I will show you a small video, 5-minute video. I have just one more slide after this, and then I will show you that video, and that will also talk of this cellulose fiber. Now, if you just throw this packaging material like that without, talking of circular economy, or without talking of recycling and all, then for the cellulose fiber, you will require to cut more and more trees. So in order to avoid that, what is done is that you use the old packaging material and you draw out cellulose fiber from here, and this cellulose fiber is used again for making similar type of cardboard or carton packaging material. Carton packaging is recycled by the paper manufacturers also, because sometimes you using this carton thing, you prepare, you use hydra pulper and make some pulp, and that pulp can then be the raw material for the paper manufacturer. You will see this also in the short film that I will show to you at the end of this presentation. The non-recycled used packaging can be used to produce energy or organic matter to enrich soils. Now what I mean is that something like, if you have, something has been, recycled over and over again, and it is in a state wherein you don't feel that it will be appropriate to recycle it any further. In that case, you can subject it to something like, say, pyrolysis process to produce energy, and that energy can be used in your manufacturing or in your system, or that energy can be used for any other purpose required. If that also cannot be done, then further putrefaction will lead it to, organic matter, for lead it to, conversion into a soil enricher, the putrefaction that normally takes place, for any organic substance. Next slide, please. For the plastic packaging, I think a lot of technicalities have been covered in the previous presentation, but broadly, to understand, the matter produced by recycled waste meets precise technical specifications to be integrated into new products, including packaging. Plastic producers, packaging manufacturers, packaged products marketers, collectors, and recyclers have been committing for more than 20 years to develop recycling altogether. You can take example of PET bottle. Over a period of time, the reduction in the, take example of, mineral water bottles. There has been considerable reduction over a period of time in the weight of the bottle and its cap. Somebody was mentioning to me that it used to be 40 grams per bottle, which is now been reduced to 28 grams per bottle. So see, this also contributes to your resource management. Bottles can be made out of PET. PET is a material, as you know. Its environmental impact were reduced by more than 20% in last 20 years. So constantly these researchers, they have been making a lot of improvement in these areas. The recycled PET can also be used, wherein 25% on an average in bottles containing recycled material. Or you can use biosourced PET, wherein 30% of which is produced with sugarcane. So these are the various methods of dealing with the what has been done with respect to the PET bottles per se. Now I will show you a film which will talk about the life cycle of packaging carton. So can you go to the next? Yeah, can you click on the link, please?
In Hong Kong, carton drinks are a part of many people's daily lives. And most people will simply throw away the empty carton after finishing the drink. The production of a carton actually involves a number of stages before it reaches us. We can all play a part in extending its lifespan by recycling, which will help support sustainable development for our society. So how does it work? Let's start with a carton's raw materials. A carton is primarily made of paper, which is produced from plant fibers extracted from trees in forests. Forests play a very important role in the ecosystem because they are home to about 1.6 billion people and more than half of our planet's animals, including endangered species. How can we help our forests so that people and animals can thrive on Forest for All forever? The Forest Stewardship Council, or FSC, is an international non-profit organization. By setting forest management standards and certifications, the FSC ensures the protection and sustainable development of forests around the world. With certification, FSC can also deliver more social, environmental, and economic benefits for the forests. Household brand Vitasoy has been using cartons made with FSC certified paper. This means that when you buy from them, you are supporting the sustainable development of forests and helping to protect our ecosystem. Timber from forests that are FSC certified is made into all sorts of products. Tetra Pak, the world's largest beverage carton company, produces cartons using recyclable cardboard made with wood fibers from these forests and laminated with plastic and aluminium. This type of packaging can protect the product from light, air, and dirt. Carton suppliers print packaging graphics onto paper rolls according to customers' requirements. These paper rolls are then delivered to customers such as beverage manufacturer Vitasoy. From sourcing raw materials to product formulation and production, beverage manufacturers would adopt the 4R principles to help reduce environmental impacts. The 4Rs are renewing, reducing, recycling, and responsibility. Vitasoy strives to reduce the environmental impact of packaging. As mentioned just now, the company has been using cartons made with wood fibers from sustainably managed forests. Vitasoy's products, sterilized in high temperatures for a short time to kill bacteria, are then poured into cartons under aseptic conditions. The high temperature and aseptic packaging protect the product quality and enable a longer shelf life without having to use preservatives. As consumers, we can help protect the environment after finishing carton drinks by supporting waste carton collection and increasing its recycling value. Here's how we can help. First of all, remove the straw and its sleeve. Then cut a corner off the pack and rinse it well to make sure it's clean. Finally, compress it and put it into a recycle bin specifically for carton collection. The collected cartons will be transported to Mill Mill Recycling Site, Hong Kong's first facility for recycling waste cartons. At Mill Mill, the paper in the waste carton is separated from aluminium and plastic using a hydropulping process. Operators at the facility separate the beverage cartons from other unwanted materials to enhance the quality of the paper pulp. Cartons are placed in the high consistency pulper and mixed with water, then passed through a rotary drum to siphon off the carton's aluminium and plastic. The residual impurities are then removed by a separator to produce the paper pulp. Finally, the pulp is ready to be squeezed through a pulper. Paper pulp is transported to paper manufacturers and made into all kinds of recycled products, such as office paper, stationery, notepads, paper bags, photo frames, or paper coasters. Besides hydraulic pulping, cartons can be recycled into other products using PE aluminium separation, chip tech, and plastic wood technologies. We can all help to extend the lifespan of a beverage carton by supporting clean recycling. By doing so, we ensure it can be recycled and help to enhance the value of used cartons. Together, we can play our part in reducing the environmental impact to our planet and enhancing its sustainable development.
Hi everybody, this is Priyamari. I'm here to talk about.
Thank you, Dr. Singh, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Mishra ji. It was wonderful. And I think there are a lot of things to learn. Your video really indicated how better we can really, collect the used cartons and perhaps I think increase the percentage share, which at this moment is not even 50% in India, to collect them so that, we can really increase that. It was really excellent and we are really thankful. I'm sure that the participants will really benefit from what you have really presented and shared it. Thank you very much indeed. I move on and our next presenter is Ms. Parmita Datta De. Parmita is a city planner with over 23 years of experience in urban development. She heads the Resources and Waste Unit at National Institute of Urban Affairs and is the program lead for the Sustainable Cities and Water and Sanitation program at NIUA. She has spearheaded the recently completed program on capacity building in sanitation and waste management as part of the Swachh Bharat Mission Urban Government of India. She has worked to bridge the gap between infrastructure policy and practice through the South Asia Urban Knowledge Hub and has helped creating innovation labs on urban wash solutions in Indian cities. Parmita has worked with several ministries in India and with internationally funded projects of UNIDO, ADB, UNDP, SIDA, USAID, World Bank, and with leading think tanks like the Center for Policy Research and the Center for Science and Environment. She is going to talk mainly on sustainable packaging. That is going to be her theme. The floor is yours, Parmita.
Thank you, Dr. Singh, and thank you for having me over to share my thoughts on sustainable packaging. All of you have been enlightened by luminaries, my previous speaker on the concept of circular economy. So I will not explain the concept, but straight away get into the topic of what is it that we understand by sustainable packaging and what are the opportunities that we have going ahead. Next slide, please. So sustainable packaging, according to my understanding, is something is about finding the optimum and delicate balance between reducing the amount of packaging material and minimizing the product loss, because packaging is very imperative in this. So this means that one needs to develop a solution that will help the reduction of weight and volume without impacting the quality of the product and having the least environmental impact or environmental or ecological footprint. Going forward, we can look at packaging in three ways: recyclable packaging, reusable packaging, and reduced packaging. Next slide, please. If we talk of recyclable packaging, then what we understand is that we need to ensure that the performance or quality of the product remains to be upheld and there is no compromise. Therefore, one needs to look at three things that needs to be kept in mind when we are talking about recyclable packaging. One is that it should go through a whole lot of cycles before becoming fragile or for further use. It has to ensure biodegradability and have a less environmental footprint. When we look at reusable packaging, next please, then we are looking at something that can be used over a prolonged period and over many trips, which my speakers have already highlighted earlier. So here we need to look at durability, ease of use, ease of cleaning, the option to be repaired, having a closed loop supply chain as in circular economy, and can be returned when empty. Some of the examples are wood, metal, plastics, its composite, etc. Next, please. So when we look at reduced packaging, we are talking about reducing the packaging material to help the environment as well as cost. It has to be economically viable. But it also has to be convenient for the customer and protect the product. It has to be customized to reduce wastage. It has to improve space efficiency, especially during transit. We should avoid fills for secondary packaging material, eliminate use of tapes and wraps, which is not always necessary. A lot of times we are ordering online and we see there are a whole lot of tapes and wraps used, which are absolutely not necessary. And very importantly, the design has to outer sleeves or substitutes that are less voluminous are removed. Next, please. So recycling packaging material, here are some examples being done at the small scale. It is actually recycling as well as upcycling. So the bag and the basket that you see is being done. A lot of NGOs are working on this. This is the chips packets or the multi-layered plastics and some cartons also that are being used to make several upcycle products like bags and markets. And the other pictures that you see are those of boards that are made out of recycled plastics and other material which is being used in place of wood. So these are some creative options, and my earlier speakers have also shown some of them. So the efforts have to be upscale. So these are done mostly on a small scale, particularly in India. So these efforts, we need to upscale them. Going on to the next slide. So before going into any kind of packaging, a company needs to focus on the important aspect of doing a sustainability audit for packaging. So here the organization needs to introspect and ask the questions that, have we selected the ideal material for packaging? Are we using too much packaging? And how can one balance the packaging cost, the damage cost, and customer satisfaction? So this will not only help in reducing the transport costs, but it will also cause less convenience to the customers. Sometimes it's so frustrating for a customer to go through all the packaging material to actually get the real product out. And some of the packaging material is also polluting, as we've seen in the earlier presentations. So what are the alternatives? So here I'd like to speak on a few alternatives available for plastics. Can we go on to the next slide, please? So one is bioplastic. Now, this is again debatable, and I'll get into the debate towards the end of my presentation. So biodegradable packing peanuts is an option, but it has a limitation of being bulky and it is water soluble, so it's unfit for humid weather conditions. Next, please. Corrugated cardboard is another option, but again, there's only a certain number of cycles that it can undergo, but of course it can be upcycled, and it also is lightweighted and has high lightweight with high strength to weight ratio. Next, please. Another example is that of air pillow made from recycled material. Again, this can be used recycled. It has a little bit of plastic, but it is very environmentally friendly compared to many other options. The other option is that, next please, is that of mushroom packaging. This looks like a very promising option because one, it is made out of completely made out of agricultural waste, that is from mushroom farming, and it replaces styrofoam. There are examples, as you can see in the picture, it replaces styrofoam, which is used a lot in packaging. And it's also an example of industrial symbiosis, where the waste of one industry is becoming the raw material of another industry. So this has a lot of opportunities going forward, but of course, a lot of research needs to be done in terms of upscaling this whole thing, because farming also requires a lot of land. Next, please. The next one is seaweed packaging, which is, seaweed is a complex alga, and there are small scale efforts which are being researched upon for packaging of dry food products. And it is also ensuring green jobs and entrepreneurship at a small scale, in terms of small scale industries. But one can think of doing these options depending on the kind of products we are looking. Organic fiber is another option that we have all seen, and in India it is widely. Next, please. Bagasse is a very promising material because in a lot of sugarcane is produced, and it's a stable and sturdy material. It's water resistant, water repellent, and it's also grease proof. And it is being used to make a lot of other things other than it is being used very widely to package food products. Next, please. Stone paper is again an example of industrial symbiosis. It's made of calcium carbonate, where plastic, HDPE plastic, is being used with 80% of stone, which is basically lime powder, and it's a waste from the quarries. And India has a lot of such quarries. And here it is used for making paper bags, takeaway food cartons, Ziploc bag, and things like these. Next, please. Palm leaf is again biodegradable, very environmentally friendly, but it has its limitations in terms of the kind of products it can be packaged in. Next, please. So these are some of the options that are being researched upon, that are being looked at. So as a conclusion, I would like to say that packaging is a necessary, but it has recycling of packaging material is a very important recovery route. But there are some practical limitations to recycling. Paper fiber deteriorates each time it is recycled. So the realistic life of a paper is around 5 to 7 cycles. Some materials such as cement sacks require only virgin fiber to get the required strength. Recycled polymers lose their properties each time they're recycled. Glass can be infinitely recycled, but the color ones cannot be used to make clear bottles. Metals are also have the capacity of being recycled infinitely. So the most practical thing to do is to optimize the recycled content and support the development of new and innovative materials. We all know the advantages of plastic. Now, bioplastic is coming in a big way. The pros of bioplastic is that it is made from sugarcane and cornstarch, and it's made of polylactic acid or PLA. It has similar properties to plastics, looks just like that, can break down in a matter of weeks, does not leach toxic chemicals into soil and water. But it has certain cons because its decomposition leads to the emission of methane, which is a greenhouse gas, and they have to be taken to a commercial composting facility and broken down in a controlled environment by microbes. And the mass production of bioplastics needs a lot of arable land. This means clearing a lot of forests. So bioplastic may not entirely solve the plastic problem, but it can alleviate it to a certain extent, provided we're able to balance it out. The other debate is about plastics and paper. Paper production, we heard, it is good and it's comparatively environment friendly, but it also emits greenhouse gases. And paper manufacturing requires a lot of energy and water. Recycling paper can be costly and it can consume a lot of fuel, sometimes more than that of a new bag. Paper packaging requires more space, and paper manufacturing also involves cutting a lot of trees. So the options are either cutting trees or huge reforestations of huge reforestations and plantations. Now the question is, where is the land to do that? To me, two solutions may be looked at. One, of course, is reducing the amount of packaging and avoiding wastage. The other option could be looking at monomaterials, that a product that is composed of a single type of, and it can be split apart after the end of life of a material. It can have multi-layers, but it will become a little bulkier. So that is something that one needs to work on. So the cons, and these are the pros, and the cons are it makes, the pros are that it is good for the environment. The cons are that it is heavier and more voluminous. So I leave you with this provocative thoughts, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so.
Thank you, Paramita. These are really provocative, thoughts and messages. And I'm sure that, the industry as well as those in the, system will certainly ponder over. Continuously, there is a research going on. How do we minimize the costs of packaging? How do we reduce the packaging material, etc., etc.? And it's an ongoing process, but very surely we really need to, continuously do some research in it so that, we do not really spoil our environment, as you rightly pointed out. Thank you so much. There are some, messages in the chat box. Some participants have really asked about the presentations by the presenters. We assure you all these presentations will be available on the website, and they will also be made available, through all other means as well. I am now inviting my next presenter, Mr. Sanjeev Kumar, a very, I would say that, leading person. He is heading the Industrial and Biomedical Waste Management Division of what we call Re-Sustainability Limited. Formerly, it was known as Ramki Enviro Engineers Limited, a KKR-backed company. The company is India's largest waste management company. Mr. Sanjeev Kumar is handling the largest business and most critical waste management division of Re-Sustainability. He, of course, comes with a very interesting background with his post-graduation from Delhi School of Economics and School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. He has worked in Central Pollution Control Board from 1999 to 2006 in the field of spatial planning and policy formulation for industrial planning. His key areas have been identification of pollution potential areas and planning of environmental infrastructure of industrial growth and development. He has been working for a number of projects on municipal solid waste, biomedical waste, hazardous waste, etc. He has, to his credit, the largest municipal waste treatment facility situated in Narela, New Delhi, generating 24 megawatt of power using waste. He has also established a number of municipal solid waste, biomedical waste, TSDF, CND waste facilities all over the country under his leadership in the last 18 years of his association with Re-Sustainability. The floor is yours, sir, and we are looking for a very inspiring presentation.
Namaskar. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So namaskar to all the esteemed panelists as well as the participants. I see 57 number of them there on the board. I would like to keep it very much confined as far as all the previous esteemed speakers has given the perspective as to what is the importance of circular economy and the pollution control, and how what is the importance of recovery, reduce and reuse through the recycling domain across the world. How various inventions or various pilot studies are being crossed at Jadavpur University, and what can be done for as a business model, and then followed by how it is being done for what should be done specifically to the BB grade packaging and recovery of the material. I think a very nice video being shown that how it can be done, and followed by the alternates given by the plastics from Pramita from NIUA. I think that is also a very interesting thing, that if not, what are the alternatives and how it can be scaled up. The present presentation would not give that kind of perspective, but we are only talking of how it is being done in India and abroad, and how as a company re-sustainability is doing it. But exactly what is happening in India. So if I look at, there are such around 85 sites where only the recovery and reduce as a part of circular economy, or the recovery or reduce to see that the waste gets minimal to go to disposal, but maximum to its best possible utilization is infrastructure and licenses are available in India. Right now, the company handles about 7 million tons of waste, with having a customer base with both government and the private with around 35,000 customers, and it engages about 20,000 employees, with lot of informal association with the people in this sector. This sector cannot be successful without engaging and involving the people already there in the informal sector. The number of ways it is being done, whether it is plastic to fuel, whether it is plastic to plastic, whether it is waste to energy, whether it is recovery through oil, whether it is recycling, whether it is addressing to the marine pollution, or whether it is recovery of resource through used oil, or any other consultancy or any other research, or converting into business model as well. So these infrastructure are already there. Can you go to the next slide, please? Presence across the India, as well as even with the various regions, whether it is US, whether it is Middle East, or whether it is Southeast Asia. The company is having all different kinds of projects across the country, as well as in certain parts of the world. In India, it is present in almost every state, right from Jammu Kashmir to Kerala in the south. Go to the next. And about 25 years of experience.
We'll call you tonight at 8.
May I request the others to be on mute, please? So it covers all the recycling, including the plastic recycling, e-waste recycling, oil recycling, integrated recycling services, construction and demolition recycling, and paper and end-of-life vehicles. So any material, any rule which is as on roll with the government are being converted into how best we can do it through a proper business model. Please go to the next slide. The focus is completely that how we can together come out with a circular economy, so that everything which is brought out from the nature can be given back to the nature with minimal going to the just for wastage. Next. It is working with closed loop. We provide and we handle right from collection, the collection of the segregated material in the way it should be, so that there is the minimum requirement of any other further resource, whether it is manpower or any other material resource, depends upon how best it is collected, how best it is being processed, and post-processing how the material can be supplied back with various different products, which can be in link with the different regulations. Next. So from the municipal solid waste, it is from the household for door-to-door collection, and it goes to material recovery facility. At the material recovery facility, the various types of waste, whether it is plastic, paper, metals, or wood is coming up, it goes to different fractions where they go for a different value addition, whether in the form of recycled plastic, whether in form of granules or recycled material and recycled wood. Go to next, please. Can you go to next, please, Ankit? So if it is dry waste, again, the dry waste generally covers or comes out with form of refuge or raffia, paper, glass, plastic, metal cans, multi-layer plastics, and sanitary waste. And the waste goes to the different recovery in the form of compost or biogas. So this generally is the principle which is getting implemented across states or across cities where the municipal solid waste is being handled. Next. Upon the paper waste, to be very precise, it's going through the collection from different generators, transportation to the baling facility, and obviously from the baling facility, it goes to different recycling options, recycling treatment plants. Next, please. Similar is for the e-waste, whether it is I will not go much, but these are the infrastructures which are being provided, and this is how it is being done, right from refurbishing to dismantling center. And I would also like to tell to this august audience present here that India is going to be having the third largest recycling facility of the e-waste apart from Belgium and China. We are going to have it in Hyderabad, and the plant is under 70% of construction. Hopefully by the next June or World Environment Day, we will be in a position to run that recycling facility of the e-waste, that is metal recovery or material recovery facility, precious metal recovery facility. For the plastic waste, it is going from the MRF, certain waste of plastics, which senior colleague Mr. Gyan Prakash was talking about. It goes to waste to energy plant, from where clean energy can go, and bottom ash and treatment can go to the recovery through tiles. Again, through pyrolysis, certain gas can come up, and then other things like recovery of the plastic granules, it can go to manufacturing of other plastic material. Please go to the next slide, please. Packaging material, again, it goes to plastic recycling plants through the form of granules. Either it is coming up through recycled bottles, or we are manufacturing utility bags. These utility bags are also being given back to the generators of municipal solid waste, or even to biomedical waste, where the waste is getting segregated. And this is all happening within our country, within our facilities at Hyderabad. Next. We are also launching, and we are also into practice of taking, without technology, things cannot come up. So it's a Reloop, is a digital platform wherein every material which is entering into your facility, how it gets tracked off, where it goes, and how it gets processed, what value addition it has, and how it gets back to the market is being tracked through the technological intervention, which is now called as Reloop. Next, please. It tracks everything, right from collection, right from handling, right from weighment, right from segregation, right from decontamination, right from processing, and right from value addition. Every product, at every level, it is being tracked through a specific barcode, getting updated to the tab, and through the tab, it goes to the senior management to see that how the material, whether it is the material receipt at the site is returned back in a proper manner, just not to say that it should go anywhere. So it is not only in the form of environment regulations, but is also in terms of value addition, whether the loop is getting closed or not. Next, please. All are QR code based and tracked and traced at every level. I've already explained this. Please go to next. World-class infrastructure is available in India. What we see in other countries, it is equivalent to what we have in India, whether it is treatment facilities, whether it is monitoring and command control center, whether it is plastic recycling facility. Every product is being tracked, every product is being traced, and what kind of consumption of electricity, water, and what kind of products or byproducts are coming, whether the material that is coming out as an effluent, whether it is being treated or not. Each and everything is being tracked and converted into useful material. Next, please. Though this is in first UAE, this is getting replicated within India. already few facilities are there with some of the players, but Sustainability Limited is also under construction of this kind of facility. Very soon we will be seeing this facility in Vizag and in Hyderabad. We are also planning to expand this to other facilities where density and optical fibers are checking the particle size, and they are being tracked to see that it is properly segregated for a useful usage. Next, please. With that, I leave open the floor, and I thank the organizers, especially Kulwant sir, for inviting us for this August event. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sanjeev ji. I happened to visit your plant in Delhi. It was Remke. It was still known as Remke Enviro Engineers Limited. For that matter, they had just installed that, and I visited along with a team of, if I may say so, municipal engineers, from Haryana and some other states. It was really wonderful, very impressive. And what you have shown today, I strongly feel that we in India can really, I would say, see a brighter future in terms of circularity, in terms of better waste management. And, what you have shown, Sustainability doing wonderful work. I am very sure that, many others will also come up so that, we are able to manage our waste, in the country significantly. Thank you so much. I was very happy. In fact, you have covered larger ground. We were very keen to have a person with this, with a kind of Central Pollution Control Board, background, basically. And you have really summed up everything with that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Our, last speaker basically is very interesting, if I may say, Mr. S.N. Umakant. Mr. S.N. Umakant is working as a chief manager and South India head for what we call WOW program of ITC Limited. WOW is well-being out of waste. It is an initiative of ITC Limited, which was started long time ago, several years ago, nearly more than a decade and a half, perhaps, I think. And I visited them sometimes in the, in Telangana, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, basically for their work. Presently, they are also doing basically work in the city of Delhi also. Umakant has worked in development sector in diversified fields like circular economy, natural resource management, women empowerment and youth empowerment. And he is responsible also for the daily activities. In fact, I like to give the floor to Umakant, so that we try to have a better understanding how under WOW program, they are actually collecting the dry waste, how they are really managing the dry waste, how they are transporting, how it is being baled, how it is transported, and then how it is getting recycled. In the process, generating a lot of employment opportunities as well. Umakant, the floor is yours. Are you there, Umakant?
Oh, sorry. Sach Namaskar
Namaskar
to all the participants and the panelists. Thank you, Dr. Kulwant Singh ji, for inviting me for this session. I'll share my screen. Is it visible, Kulwant Singh ji?
Very much so, yes.
Yeah. So since last 2 hours, we have seen all the presentations, very good presentations, and especially re-sustainability. A company in India, a waste management company in India, such a big company, they're doing wonderful work. especially in Hyderabad and Delhi. Thanks for your presentation, Mr. Sanjeev Kumar. And here ITC WOW Wellbeing Out of Waste is a CSR initiative. For entire waste management, there is one key aspect is there, that is source segregation. If there is no source segregation, then entire solid waste management will not be successful. So ITC WOW, we are working on, our main objective is to inculcate the habit of source segregation among the households and citizens. So you are all aware about ITC. ITC is a carbon positive for last 12 consecutive years, water positive 15 years in a row, and solid waste recycling positive for the last 10 to 12 years. And I don't think we'll cover this, but I'll just run through these slides. Current SWM scenario, we are over 1.3 billion population and generating about 1,69,000 tons per day, and 50,700 tons of recyclables dumped in the garbage every day. About 25,000 tons of paper and paperboards are dumped in garbage every day. And about 40 acres of land is being brought under landfill daily, and 4% of greenhouse gases emit through garbage, leading to global warming. And if you see a pie chart, a 4-member family in metros generate about 2 kgs of garbage. And in 2 kgs, about 60% is organic waste, 30% dry waste, and 5% e-waste, and 5% hazardous waste. But these are all in mixed condition. The households dispose the waste. And again, it's very difficult to process this waste. So under WOW, we educate each and every household to segregate this waste into wet, dry, and hazardous, so that the wet waste can be composted at the home level or the community level or at the transfer station level. And 30% of the dry waste can be kept aside. Once in 15 days, they can dispose, they can sell to Kabadiwala, they can give to the waste collector. If they sell to Kabadiwala, they can earn at least 100 rupees per month. And 5% e-waste, again, it is recyclable and it fetches money, so that 30 plus 5%, this 35% of the dry and e-waste can be sold in the market and fetch some money out of it. Only 5% of hazardous waste should go out of their home, and which can be given to the waste collector, who properly handles it and take it to the landfills. From there, it goes to the incinerators of waste to energy plant. So since we are from paper company, would like to share some facts about paper. India produces about 18 million tons of paper and paperboards per annum. Unfortunately, only about 5 to 6 million metric tons of paper and paperboards is being recovered. That is newspapers, magazines, notebooks, and textbooks. So a lot of dry, good recyclables end up in landfill through garbage route. India imports about 6 million tons of waste paper at about $2 billion. That means we are importing the garbage and paying the foreign exchange. And you know that 50% of the dry waste generated is paper and paperboards. Paper consumption is again growing at 10% per annum. And coming to the beverage cartons consumption in India is about 90,000 tons metric ton per annum. And it's growing at 12% per annum. And about only 40% of beverage cartons are recovered and recycled. The major challenge in beverage cartons recovery is source segregation, because source segregation doesn't happen. So these beverage cartons also end up in the garbage. So tissue usage also expected to increase. The current growth is around 20% per annum. And about plastics, India generates about 26,000 tons of plastic every day, of which about 40% remains uncollected. And you can see how the marine litter is happening. And these are the present scenario. The current waste management, the wet and dry is mixed and handed over to the waste collector or dumped at the nearest dumper bay. From there, it goes to the transfer stations, and from transfer stations, so it ends up in the landfills. And you can see the tons of garbage lying at the landfills in India, and these are untreated, and it cannot be processed unless the waste can be segregated. These are all in mixed condition, and it is very tough to process. Certain technologies have come now, like biomining, capping, and all. Again, these are all expensive, and it's waste of resources. So underground water is polluted. air is also polluted due to this landfills. You can see this is a leachate which comes out. The leachate gets treated at the sanitary landfill sites, but in rainy seasons, it is very tough to treat it. The water comes out of this garbage, it will go untreated and percolates into underground water belt. And coming to the informal sector, the whatever dry waste or the waste, the high value waste, which is picked up by the waste collector, is again sold to some kabadiwala. From kabadiwala to it goes to the aggregators. You can see how they handle it. The child labor is involved, very unhealthy livelihood, but they are doing tremendous job, humongous job, but this is not the way we think it should be done. So coming to WOW, what is the solution we have? This is a problem, but we have a solution, that is WOW. The main objective of WOW is to inculcate the habit of source segregation among the citizens, recover valuable dry recyclable waste and channelize for recycling, create sustainable livelihoods to the waste handlers, develop social entrepreneurship and create green jobs, create Swachh Bharat and Atmanirbhar Bharat. Why I'm saying here Atmanirbhar Bharat means, just in my previous slide, I mentioned that we are importing about 6 million tons of paper waste from the European countries. Otherwise, if we can recover our domestic waste, it can save $2 billion every year. The main sources of waste generation: households, industries, hospitals, hotels, commercial establishments, educational institutions, corporates, and government offices are the main sources of waste generation. And our concept is the waste which has to be segregated into dry waste, wet waste, and hazardous waste. Dry waste means paper, plastic, metal, glass can be recycled and manufactured again, so there will be no waste. Wet waste can be converted into compost or biofuel or briquettes, and it can be used for plants in the kitchen garden as a compost manure. And hazardous waste can be incinerated in the waste to energy plants or can be used as a alternative fuel at cement plants. So our WOW model, where the ITC funds NGOs, first identifies the NGO and funds the NGO, so that NGO ties up with the municipal corporations, enters into an MOU, and it works with all the key stakeholders like waste collectors, citizens, households, schools, corporates, educational institutions, colleges, etc. And it has a team, it will recruit a team where the propagation executives who goes to door and educate on source segregation, and also the community resource persons. These are community resource persons who are identified from the each and every ward of the municipality, and they are picked up from, especially from self-help groups, and trained, and they will be given as a responsibility. They act as a WOW ambassadors in their ward and ensures segregation in their ward level. So the same community resource persons, if they are interested, we give them the operations of dry resource collection centers, where all the dry waste which waste collectors collect separately, it will come over there. Again, they have to buy this dry waste from the waste collectors and further process it and channelize for recycling. Here you have to see that the dry resource centers are very key. If you see at the collection site, waste collectors are very key, and the dry resource collection center is an infrastructure created to collect all this dry waste and further value add, further sorting, baling will happen over there, and it will be all the material will be channelized for recycling. So these centers are operated by self-help group women. And sometimes what happens, these centers again will send the material to central hubs, centralized central hubs. So from there, it will go for recycling. These central hubs again are operated by startups and social entrepreneurs. This is the current model we have adopted, and we are working in 8 states in India. So the implementation process is that before we implement our program in any city, we do the baseline study and the profiling of all the waste collectors and current scenario of waste management in that city. Then we enter into an MOU and we launch the program by inviting all the public representatives, MLAs, corporators, and concerned ministers and all. And we launch the program in the particular city. And once we launch the program, we identify these community resource persons and propagation executives, and we train them on solid waste management and on communication skills, how to communicate to the households, and give a live demo on the source segregation of the waste, what is wet waste, what is dry waste, what is hazardous waste, and why segregation should happen, what is the impact of segregation, and importance of segregation will be imparted to these community resource persons. These are the ambassadors, and they are paid volunteers for ITC WOW program. You can see here, these community resource persons, actually we call them Swachh Doot. They go to every household and gives a live demo on segregation of waste. And you can see they carry entire dry waste sample, LUDI, we call it LUDI, and they show to the households what is dry waste. Otherwise, they will be confused. Even they think that household think that dry waste means dry waste. So these kind of confusions will be avoided and explained how it has to be handled, and how to dispose the waste, and what kind of bins they should have. And for the dry waste, they can have a bag, and for the wet waste, they can have a green bin. And also how they can do the home level composting also will be communicated to the households, and they will be sensitized on this waste management, especially on why segregation. If I go to any house, I find only a homemaker and senior citizens. But our objective is to educate each and every member of the family. So we go to the schools and educate the school children, and we make them our WOW ambassadors, and we give the responsibility of segregation of waste at their household level to this WOW ambassador, the students. And also what we do, once we educate them and we give the responsibility, we tell them that my waste, my responsibility. So we should handle this waste properly, and we should dispose the waste properly and segregate the waste at the home level. So we do conduct the championships to the school children who becomes our WOW ambassador. So what they will do, they collect all this dry waste, and parent teachers meet. We conduct an inter-school recycling championship where the children bring all the dry waste to the school, and we exchange this dry waste with the new notebooks and stationery. We give them a green certificate to each and every student who participates, and also a student who brings the highest quantity of dry waste will be awarded as a recycling champion of that particular school. And the school is also awarded recycling champion trophy on Swachhata Divas, that is on October 2nd, on a big event where the chief minister or concerned minister of municipal administration will be invited and will be given the awards to the schools. And the children will further work with us as an ambassadors. They go to their neighborhood, they educate the neighbors on segregation of waste, and also they do the Zidd Karo Abhiyan. We call it Zidd Karo Abhiyan. These students, they don't do Zidd for chocolates or anything else. They do Zidd for segregation of waste at their home. They ensure that the segregation happens in their home, and if required, they fight with their parents and neighbors to segregate the waste. We have almost 30 lakh students, WOW ambassadors across India. You can see this is a Swachhata Divas event where we give away the awards and rewards to the school principals and students who have won the recycling champion trophies. And for the college students also, we have a program called 145 program, which is called I Love India. So if you love India, you have to do something for India. So what you want to do? That is what we ask the children, and we tell them that what is 145 means. 1 means 1 minute per day. What you can do in 60 seconds. In 60 seconds, you can segregate the waste at your home. So once they agree to become our volunteer, so they start doing the 1 minute per day, that is segregation of waste at their home for lifetime. Okay, and here 4 means 4 hours per week. They will volunteer the work. They each one reach 10. So they reach out 10 households in a week in their neighborhood and ensure that that households also do the segregation. And 5 means here they have to inspire 5 volunteers like them who are passionate and want to do something good for India, do their bit. So if they love India, they have to join this movement 145, and this is called I Love India movement. And here our main objective is to involve the adolescents and teenagers in the movement of segregation and ensure that they not only they are doing the segregation, the entire country does the segregation. So 1 becomes 5 and 5 becomes 25, like that it will multiply, and one good fine day it reaches entire India. So we have a volunteer network of almost 20,000 students only in Hyderabad, and in other cities like Bangalore, Chennai, Coimbatore and all, we have another 25,000 students working with us. And in Delhi, we have recently started, already we have around 500 volunteers who are working with us and in the joined the movement of 145. So we have outreached the homemaker, we have outreached the senior citizens, school children and students and teenagers. Now the main important stakeholder is the head of the family or whoever goes to the office, and we can't meet them in their home. So we go to their office, and also we educate the employees of government offices, corporates or any other offices, and we do the Swachhata Hi Seva in the offices, and offices also generate a lot of waste, and we ensure that offices also segregate the waste into wet and dry, and all the dry waste will be collected by this from these offices and corporates and will be channelized for recycling. Here we have a separate fleet of collection vehicles where they collect from the schools, colleges and offices, and we have a separate godowns where this material is processed, and especially the paper will go to our paper mills for recycling. And apart from this door-to-door campaign, school education programs, college education programs, inter-school, inter-college recycling championships, inter-school recycling championships, and Swachh Karyalaya championships, all these programs, apart from doing all these programs, we also go to the markets and educate each and every individual who comes over there to avoid single-use plastics and use the alternatives like cloth bags and jute bags, etc.
Ultimately, kindly sum up.
Yeah, ultimately it gets segregated, and we also train the waste collectors who collect the waste. They are the key stakeholders. Even if the households segregate the waste, they will mix up. So we work with them day and night and ensure that he also segregates the waste at the vehicle level and brings to the collection centers. These are called dry resource collection centers, and we get a lot of Tetra Pak waste also we do collect, and we channelize for our mill located in Coimbatore. We recycle almost 200 tons of Tetra Pak cartons, beverage cartons every month. And these centers are operated by women. You can see every dry resource collection center is operated by self-help group women, and she earns around 15 to 20,000 rupees per month. And big centers, about 50 to 60,000 rupees is the revenue generation. So the home level, we promote home level composting and kitchen gardening, terrace gardening. So we close the loop, and here you can see the composting at community level and also at the resource park level. So overall impact is the reduction of cost for the waste management for the ULBs, income for waste collectors, improves health, creates jobs, create wealth for small waste traders, opportunities for entrepreneurs, availability of raw material for recycling industries. Recycling saves energy, water, and reduces carbon dioxide, saves natural resources, availability of organic manure to farmers and kitchen garden, saving land and enrichment of soil, and improves tourism opportunities in India. So we have started this initiative, or we can call it a movement, in 2007. We have outreached 15.2 million citizens as of now, And we are working with 5.4 million school children. We're working with 2,000 plus corporates, and we have created about 140 social entrepreneurs, and we are working in almost 23 ULBs, that is 1,067 wards, and 70,000 metric tons of dry waste diverted from landfill every year. Over 41,000 of waste paper collected and recycled in our mills. Sustainable livelihoods for 16,900 rack pickers working with top corporates and government departments. Annually, we are collecting about 12,000 metric tons of MLPs and channelizing for cement factories for co-processing. These are the awards and rewards we are in use. So finally, all this ITC is doing for the future generations, but providing them Swachh Vayu, Swachh Pani, and Swachh Vatavaran for the future, and let's live a livable environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Umakant.
Thank you.
It was very inspiring, very educative, and I think lot for municipalities to learn how really to segregate the waste and how really we ensure the cyclability and recyclability. Thank you very much. There was a query by one of our presenters if WOW program is working in NCR. Very surely, since you have started it in Delhi, we'd like to connect that presenter. Paramita wanted to know it from NIUA. I'd like to connect her with you, so that, she can
Sure.
get the benefit out of that.
Sure.
Thank you very much. After these 5 very outstanding presentations and, and the keynote by Shri Mohanty, I'd like to now invite Mr. Praveen Agarwal, who's heading the ARC program, for the last several years. I'd like to request him, for in a way, sum up and give us the takeaway, which are there, for all of us from this webinar. Mr. Praveen Agarwal, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Singh. Thank you very much. I must appreciate the contribution made by all the panelists as well as the inaugural speaker. A very brief introduction of AIIRC, Action Alliance for Recycling Beverage Cartons. It was created 5 years back to create an ecosystem for management of carton waste, to support the policy advocacy, to spread the awareness among the stakeholders, and also to work for upliftment of the waste pickers. And towards that objective, one of the objectives to create the awareness and create an ecosystem, right ecosystem for the category. We reached out to Dr. Kulwant Singh to help us reach out to all of you and assist with this webinar. And I must appreciate Dr. Singh for making it the second webinar in the series and as part of UNCRD program. And we totally appreciate this. So the key learnings for me, whether you call it conclusions or my personal learnings from our key speaker, Mohanty Saab, we learned that solutions and technologies are available. They are getting more affordable. The challenge remains in collection and sorting. And we were very happy to hear when he said that beverage cartons are one of the most efficient ways of packaging, and the way he gave the context of how beverage cartons carry more milk per truck, and how in terms of resource efficiency, they are 47% better than PET bottles and about 80% better than the glass bottles, etc. That was very heartening to know and gives us the confidence that we are working for the right packaging category. He also summed up to say that that is not a solution, circularity is. And he emphasized the need to decouple the waste from the ecosystem so that we are able to focus more on the circularity. He also highlighted a very grave statistics that more than 70% of all resources are consumed in our city, and more than 75% of waste is also generated in the city. So we know that if we have to focus on collection segregation, where we need to put our energies. Professor Ghosh was able to highlight very aptly that over last 20 years, our extraction of natural resources is 3 times higher. And if we go with the same speed, it is going to be very, very unaffordable for Earth. And our theme remains one world, one Earth for this year. He also emphasized, talking about collection segregation, that the primary responsibility post-consumer is that of the consumer and nobody else. And if the consumer takes care of appropriate segregation and disposal, then most of the problems would be sorted. I heard for myself, it was the first ever term that I heard, EPCD2, which simply means extract, produce, consume, dispose, deplete, and continue to repeat the cycle. And as is evident, the cycle starts with extract, ends with depletion, and this cycle cannot go on forever. And we are going to destroy our environment. So we need to break the cycle. We need to replace extract with extract plus recycle. After depletion, before depletion, after disposal, we need to ensure appropriate disposal and upcycling or recycling, etc. And he emphasized there is no alternative to appropriate segregation, and we appreciate that, sir. He also gave several examples of where technologies are existing to manage the waste better. Gyan Prakash ji also echoed almost same sentiment like EPCD2. In his simpler language, he said, take, make, dispose, which again mentioned that, this non-virtuous cycle of take, make, dispose can't continue, and we need to break the cycle. He gave a new definition of 4R, and that definition of 4R, 2 R's are very interesting to me. One is renewing, and second is responsibility. Typically, we hear about R's as reduce, recycle, and all of that. But here, I think the emphasis was on renewing and responsibilities. And if we continue to focus on these as a responsible corporate, NGOs, society, I think it will make a great contribution to the ecosystem. He also highlighted through the video that paper-based packaging can be recycled or upcycled 5 times. And same was actually mentioned by Paramita also, that paper can be recycled, paper-based packaging can be recycled 5 to 7 times. And though it needed a 20 years effort to create an ecosystem. With this, Paramita made very interesting conceptual framework of reusable packaging, recyclable packaging, and reduced packaging, and she took some pain to explain all of them. And she also was able to identify the newer innovations in the packaging materials, whether made of mushroom, which was a new learning for me, packaging material of seaweed, organic fibers, bagasse, stone paper, etc. Actually, for a common person or many of our participants, we won't even think that packaging could be made of some of these materials. And she also emphasized the use of monoplastics and bioplastics. With this, we came to the session of Sanjeev ji from Roundtree, which gives us the confidence that within India, the technology, the process, the system exists. And if we have the collective will, we can surely succeed. At ARC, we have demonstrated that for last 15 years, we have been able to collect more than 60% of all our waste as an industry and send it for recycling. And one of our recycling partners is also ITC. Uma Khan made a very interesting presentation some of the interesting takeout from that is 25,000 tons per day going into the garbage. Paper or paper waste, so 25,000 tons per ton going into garbage, and we are importing a bigger quantity from abroad. So this looks like a sheer wastage of national resources. And he highlighted that we are importing waste and paying dollars. And the starting part is more than that is the waste that we are putting into garbage, which can be collected. And I won't be surprised if remaining 40% of our cartons, which we are not able to collect and recycle, this is also going to that garbage. Given the current paper prices, there's no reason why any single piece of our carton should be going to garbage and not getting recollected and not worked upon that. With this, I think it's a very good summation when Prime Minister announced yesterday the acronym LIFE, which is Live for Environment. And all of us, our eminent speakers, are a perfect example of life in our Prime Minister's term. All of you have been living for the environment. And I guess your inputs and insights given to us for searching for newer technologies, newer materials, and new ways of enhancing collection and recycling, that will go a long way to further enhance collection and recycling of the cartons, and also work on circularity of other plastic materials. Dr. Saab, these were some of my notes from all the speakers. Hope I was able to capture the learnings. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Praveenji. I really appreciate you have summed up beautifully. A lot of learnings are there. Each speaker contributed in a very big way. I avail this opportunity. There are not many questions as such. There were some clarifications from some of the participants had some clarifications which sought. So Mohanty ji actually has responded in the chat box itself, and if there be any other questions or clarifications, we will certainly reach these presenters and try to send those answers to those who have really inquired. I just want to mention that this particular webinar actually has been in a way webcast on Facebook, and it is being watched by more than 1,000 persons across. There are about 25,000 followers of the Urban Update, and all over the world, basically that. And there are about more than 1,000 who really, particularly in the Southeast Asia, they are really watching this program. So this program will also be recorded version of this will also become available to everyone on the website of Urban Update and All India Institute of Local Self-Government. All the presentations will also be made available to all the participants. And perhaps I think, they should be mainly for record purposes also. I avail this opportunity, first of all, thanking UNCRD for enabling us to organize this event as a pre-event. Thanking very specially for Mohanty ji for delivering the very insightful keynote address on the subject, and particularly touching on the whole theme of recyclability and circular economy as such. My thanks also go to Professor Ghosh, who specially took his time off from his very busy schedule. It was difficult for him, but he made the adjustment actually joining us. My thanks also go to Gyan Prakash ji, very specially also to Paramita from NIUA. She was very busy because the Honorable Minister, Mr. Puri, was in NIUA today for this World Environment Day event. But despite all that, she could make it and made an excellent presentation. Sanjeev Kumar ji's association is also pretty old in a way, and he really indicated how, as a matter of fact, now earlier Ramki, now Resustainability is doing wonderful work all over the country, which is very reassuring that we have technology, we have the skills, we have the manpower, and we are able to do, and we should be able to do, particularly in our metro cities. We should be able to keep them clean after, and we should be able to manage our, not just the waste, but also move towards circular economy in particular. My special thanks also to Umakant. He could not join us in the first webinar because of his very busy schedule, but it's very interesting program of well-being out of waste. How, as a matter of fact, I saw it, when I saw it for the first time about 7-8 years ago, I was deeply impressed, and I have actually spent time explaining it to several municipal commissioners in the country, so that they are able to initiate that. Very particularly in the state where I am located, the state of Haryana, a lot of work actually is now being done on the segregation of the waste. Municipal commissioners taking a lot of interest in that. With that, actually, I would like to thank also not only ARC, basically the organization which actually has taken this whole initiative, but also the entire team of All India Institute of Local Self-Government, my colleagues, Mr. Arjun Singh, Mr. Hitesh Nigam, Meenakshi, and others, and also the team from AIIRC, Mangesh Gupte, and other colleagues. Thank you very much for joining us, supporting this program. We will continue. We like to strengthen this whole initiative in future as well. And with that, I'd like to close this session very specially with everybody's permission. Thank you so much indeed. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Praveen ji.
Thank you, sir. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.